Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada. And proud sponsor of Canada's Olympic team in Seoul, Korea. And by your Esso retailers and agents across Canada. From Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, it's the final game of this three-game series between the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, behind the pitching of Dave Stieb, won Friday night 3-0. And then in 10 innings yesterday afternoon, Dwayne Ward picking up his third win of the season. The Blue Jays won it 4-3. This afternoon, it'll be John Cerutti against Dennis Oil Can Boyd. And Tony Kubek, what about those Blue Jays? Do they still have a chance to win it all?
I don't think so. I think there are too many teams to climb over. Second place is a long ways off, but it's not out of reach. There are going to be some changes. There were extensive meetings among the coaching staff and some executives here. You've got to remember, Jimmy Key is starting to throw, and Dunedin Friday threw the ball pretty well. Musselman, they tell me, at Syracuse in his third outing on last Thursday, threw the ball up almost 90 miles an hour. Nunez will be coming off the DL. They've got to solidify the pitching staff if they're going to make any kind of run. Remember, you've got Flanagan struggling. Clancy's been a little bit better. You can't keep bouncing Stottlemyre from the bullpen to the starting rotation, so they've got to straighten that out. There's something in the wind.
The Red Sox and the Blue Jays this afternoon on CTV. Exhibition Stadium in Toronto for this afternoon's game, the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. They're expecting a crowd in the neighborhood of 40,000 today, and this is what happened in the American League yesterday. The Yankees, John Candelaria, won his 8th game of the season.
I guess one of the big stories in that game, a DH, and he was a pitcher, Rick Rhoden, who got a sacrifice fly RBI.
And Detroit's Jack Morris won his 6th of the season as they beat Cleveland 11-3. Chicago over Milwaukee 5-3. And Jerry Royce, the veteran left-hander, got his 5th win of the season there. Kansas City and California, Gubazov. That's the game you did out in Anaheim, Tony, yesterday.
He was overpowering. Here's what the American League East looks like. Boston and Toronto going in opposite directions. Toronto has won 7 of their last 10, even with that sweep by Cleveland the other day. They did not play good baseball. Boston has lost 7 of 10. Some interesting lineup changes. Jesse Barfield, benched today by Jimmy Williams, and against the left-hander, Jim Rice, the future Hall of Famer, not playing against John Cerutti. They're playing some kids.
And Rice has yet to hit a home run this season. The West Division, Oakland, of course, with that big win yesterday. Carney Lansford hitting a home run. Henderson got one. In fact, Henderson had 3 hits. And Kansas City winning over California. They're 9 back. So that's what happened yesterday in the American League, and we're all set for today's action. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball on CTV. Tander taking the mound today. He has a record of 3-2, makes his 8th start and 16th appearance of this season. And the last time he faced Boston, he took a line drive off the bat of Rick Cerrone inside his right knee and had to leave the game, but he's made 1 relief appearance since then. And that's the lineup he'll be facing.
Leadoff hitter is shortstop. Switch hitter Spike Owen, followed by Marty Barrett. Wade Boggs back in the number 3 slot. He requested about a week ago to bat leadoff. He wasn't driving in runs. Evans at first base. He played about a week in right field. Greenwell, the DH. Center fielder Perks down to the lineup because he's having trouble with his wrist. A couple of kids in the last 2 or 3 for Kevin Romine leading a lot of departments down in the International League, playing right field for Jimmy Rice, then Rich Gedman. Surprisingly, Gedman, a left-handed hitter, catching for Cerrone, a right-handed hitter, and Cerrone has been swinging a pretty good bat. And Randy Kutcher out in left field.
As far as Cerutti is concerned, well, he's given up better than a hit per inning. There's his record. He's walked 15 and 55 and 2/3, throwing up a couple of box. And there you see, this is his 16th appearance. He has struck out 32.
Fergie, we had said this coming out of spring training, the Red Sox, of course, train in Winter Haven, that the Red Sox would be 10th in the American League in runs scored with what was supposed to be a potent offense. They would be last in the major leagues, not just the American League, in home runs. They've got 27. And they are second from the bottom in stolen bases, 25. When you don't have power and you don't have speed, it's kind of a bad combination.
There's the rookie in right field, Sil Camposano. Of course, he got the winning hit in the 10th inning in yesterday's game. Bell has been slumping at the plate, so is Mosby. The infield at the corners, Gruber and McGriff, they've really just had sensational starts for the Blue Jays. Hernandez, it's been a struggle the last 2 or 3 weeks. And Liriano is back in the lineup today at second base. So Spike Owen will lead it off for the Boston Red Sox. I'm Fergie Oliver with Tony Kubek. Don Chevrier, the regular play-by-play announcer on the Blue Jay telecast, is in Chicago for a boxing match on ESPN.
Owen has been in and out of that Boston Red Sox lineup several different times. Jordy Reed has played some short, but Owen wasn't hit earlier. Romero played some shortstop. He is in the disabled list now with a knee problem.
You know, it's interesting, off our opening, we talked about the meetings this morning. All the coaches, manager Jimmy Williams in with Pat Gillick. We can only speculate. I don't know what went on in the meetings, but there's been a lot of rumors. Continue to hear rumors about trades. Everybody's speculating. Who are they going to trade? When's it going to happen?
Well, Seattle's still a hot rumor, as is the Minnesota Twins. Bob Gebhardt, an executive from the Twins, has followed the team for almost a week. Basically, if they cannot pull the trigger on a deal with another ball club, you know there are going to be some internal deals, because you're going to have those pitchers we mentioned.
Musselman's back Wednesday.
If he's ready, he appears to be.
Yeah. Nunez, another week. And Jimmy Key, of course, just started his rehab.
You think there's turmoil in the home dugout? You ought to check over in the Boston Red Sox. Some of the benchings today, the way they are struggling, they were expected to contend. They are sinking. There's been a club organized in the Boston Red Sox area called Knife the Mac. John McNamara, the manager. I mean, it's getting mean, folks.
Ball and 2 strikes, and that evens up the count at 2-2. Owen has hit 4 home runs this season. They've all come off left-handers. This guy here, John Cerutti, year in and year out, just goes out. All he does is win.
In position that has not been an attractive one for a pitcher to be in. Starting, relieving. Talk about one of the most deceiving numbers in all of baseball. Team batting average. The Red Sox tied with Oakland at 276, and yet Oakland has scored 321 runs. Boston 244, 10th in the league with tied.
Tells it all, doesn't it? Fly ball, center field. Mosby will call for it. So the spike is out of there, and that'll bring up the second baseman, Marty Barrett.
And on this warm day, a short sleeve crowd. Yesterday, before it got dark, or Friday, Jimmy Rice lost the ball to left field. It might be worse today with all the short sleeves and white shirts behind the hitter.
You will hear the Blue Jay outfielders complain every once in a while about the background that they have to take fly balls out of. At first pitch, a ball to Marty Barrett.
Perhaps the ideal number 2 hitter. Hit the opposite way, occasionally pull the ball. Can take a lot of pitches if you have a runner in front of him. They were expecting that to be Alice Burks, but because of his wrist problem, swinging badly, he's sitting down in the lineup.
He's an excellent bunter, too, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. That's about all you'd like to have in a number 2 hitter.
The 2-0 pitch. Lee Merriweather, or Chuck Merriweather, I should say, is behind the plate. I don't think Lee is related.
Former Miss America.
That's right.
Lee Merriweather.
Vic Voltaggio down at first. Jim Joyce, the second base umpire, and Dan Morrison at third.
A couple of young umpires. Davey Phillips with a little back problem. He's on a little vacation because of it. And Steve Palermo, and those 2 guys are pretty good umpire. Palermo's still having a little problem. The 2 rookies are Joyce and Merriweather, of course, and home plate at second. Palermo's still having difficulty, apparently losing weight. Still having a problem with exhaustion is the way they term it.
Lined up the middle, base hit, Marty Barrett. So that'll bring up Wade Boggs.
Third baseman, number 26, Wade Boggs.
Boggs having another usual Boggs season.
looked like a little change-up that John got up in the strike zone. I still believe that John Cerutti pitches best when he does not fear throwing his fastball. He is basically an off-speed pitcher. But off-speed pitchers more often than not get hitters out more with their fastball because the hitters are sitting on off-speed pitches.
That average 358, third best in the American League. Boggs 3 for 4 in yesterday's game. And he just continues to put the numbers up over the last 38 games, hitting .391.
Only thing is, he's hit just 1 home run and driven in 16 runs. Does lead the league on bases on balls and on base average.
You don't have to be
Last
afraid
year,
of
he had 24 home runs.
Pretty good heckler down
Yeah,
there
I'll
by
say.
the
Sitting right beside our microphone. Has to
parabolic
be.
mic.
So Cerutti has run the count to 3 balls and no strikes on Boggs.
Not a hitter in baseball, and it's more in a 3-2 count than Wade Boggs does. And I think he learned a lot of that, Fergie, when he played Yastrzemski's tail end of his career. Yastrzemski would run the count 3-2, and Yastrzemski learned a lot of that from the man before him, Ted Williams. Always hitting deep in the count.
4 straight balls by Cerutti to Boggs. So Barrett goes to second, Boggs at first, and that'll bring up the first baseman, Dwight Evans. Evans in a bit of a slump.
The first baseman, number 24, Dwight
Last
Evans.
8 plate appearances. But over the last 22 has hit .345, driven in 18. He's having a pretty good season, except for the home runs.
Well, you take his season last year, it was a Hall of Fame type season. He was the top 5 in the balloting for the MVP voting. We've been on base at times. He jumps on the first pitch.
It's low. So Cerutti running into problems early. Just 1 down. Spike Owen led it off with a fly ball to Mosby in center field.
The power numbers on this ball club are just extremely low. Evans has 4 home runs. Most of those have come over the last few weeks. He struggled in April. And everybody kept saying it's the cold weather and the windy conditions. Home runs down in both leagues, about 27% over last year, a record year.
That pitch is low.
You know, Evans, before today's ball game, sought out Jesse Barfield. He said, I've been watching Jesse in Boston those 4 games. He said, and Jesse kind of admires Evans because he admired his defensive skills and his struggle. And he sought him out to give him a little encouragement when he was struggling. You know, Evans said, I remember when I got hit in the head. He got hit in the head badly. He had dizzy spells for almost a year. He threw up at nights. He said, that worried me for a year. He said, I know what it is to feel like Jesse's. He hadn't gotten hit, but to lose your confidence like I did. He said, Jesse's confidence is gone.
Here's the 2-1 pitch. Fouled back out of play.
That's the bit that will keep Cerutti effective. That fastball when they're sitting in off-speed stuff. You see them hitting the ball back in the strike zone, fouling it off. Especially smart hitters like Evans, Boggs, who guess a lot.
Evans hit .300 last year for the first time in his 15-year career. And he's hitting just over .300 this year. Full count. Cerutti having trouble finding the plate.
I would not think John McNamara would start the runners. The way they've been scuffling, you don't know. It doesn't have much speed, either Barrett or Boggs on the bases. Cerutti stepping out, trying to find out something.
There go the runners. That's popped up, but it'll drift back into the stands out of play.
You know, when a team is going badly like the Red Sox, you start runners, you've got to manage a little bit scared. Although McNamara did not then, but you think, well, if he takes the pitch, it's a strikeout throwout with my 5-hitter up, Greenwell, who's a good RBI man. And when you're going poorly, you think the worst. That's why I didn't think he would start him.
The Red Sox have lost 6 in a row to the Blue Jays, and if you go back to last year, make it 8 in a row. There go the runners again. He reaches, hits it past McGriff, a base hit. Barrett will come in to score. Boggs will stay at third. The Red Sox lead it 1-0.
I don't think Freddie McGriff saw that ball. It looked like he pulled the string or turned it over, and Evans hit it off the end of the bat. A little bit of a squib shot, and Freddie just really didn't move. Watch where the ball comes off the end of the bat. It's out of the strike zone for a ball. Ernie Whitt was going to have to... And Freddie just stood frozen, almost lunged at the ball, and it wasn't hit that hard. I think the backdrop fooled him.
Now Fernandez going to the ball boy. He looks like he might be trying to get... Oh, he's getting a towel. I thought maybe some glasses.
Galen Cisco is filling in for Al Widmar after the disc surgery in the neck. You don't usually see Evans swinging a pitch like that. That ball was a foot out of the strike zone. He's usually very disciplined, and he caught a break. It was going to be bases loaded anyway with 1 out, but he gets an RBI and a pitch out of the strike zone, and that's what it looks like.
That brings up the designated hitter, Mike Greenwell. There are the numbers on Greenwell. Against left-handers, he's hit .338.
Yeah, last year he was a platoon player more often than not, so McNamara looked at the end of the season and found out he hit left-handers so well. Been playing with a bad shoulder. Jammed it last year running into a wall. It still bothers him swinging on occasion. Breaking ball in a good spot that just kept biting.
Greenwell's hit safely in 15 of his last 16 games. And he's at first, and he's back. Red Sox leading 1-0. Owen flied out, Barrett single, Boggs walk, and then Dwight Evans with an RBI single. Blue Jays struggled a little yesterday in the first inning, and then came back to win it in the 10th, 4-3. Here's the 0-2 pitch.
That's what good hitters do, and Greenwell is that. He's got a good eye, he's disciplined. Up until 2 strikes, he will look for pitches, but he fouled off an excellent pitch to keep himself alive. A bad hitter would have sat down.
He leads the Red Sox in home runs with 7. Good play by Whitt.
John McNamara, who is under fire to say the least, but he's been there before, let go by several other ball clubs. Did something just 2 years ago. McNamara and the Red Sox were like all but 1 pitch from a World Championship against the Mets. Same as Jimmy Wheeler's 96 wins last year. He's under the gun.
Deep to right. Camposano back. It's out of here. A 3-run home run.
A 1 ball, 2 strike. 1 ball, 2 strike. Looked like a hanging slider. Greenwell able to keep himself alive on a good slider that he fouled off 2 pitches ago.
Well, that's the 6th home run that Cerruti's given up this year.
Now the walk to Boggs, and Boggs does walk a lot. A little squibber that Freddie McGriff did not appear to be able to pick up on the bat of Evans. He does. It was a double play line drive with them running, and then a hanging breaking ball.
That brings up Ellis Burks, the center fielder. Boston leading 4-0 with just 1 down here in the first inning.
This is the early part of the season with a bad ankle problem that he hurt down in Winter Haven.
Base hit, left field.
This is the speed factor that the Red Sox tried to introduce in their lineup, and they did it last year with Burks and Brady Anderson early. So they're keeping pitching charts, but the mounds are flying all over the place right now. Burks, another rolling curveball that just stays right there, belt high.
The right fielder, number 16, Kevin Romine.
It's Mark Ross warming up in the Blue Jay bullpen. He has not seen any service since being called up a few days ago from Syracuse.
A journeyman, to say the least.
Yep.
That'll tell you the state of the AAA pitching staff in Syracuse for the Blue Jays.
Kevin Romine, the hitter.
He's been up and down a few times over the last few years. He's always shown a lot of promise. People keep passing him by, like Brady Anderson, Ellis Burks, Benzinger, who's disabled. You know, when you look at the kids they're playing, Romine and Kutcher today, you got to start thinking they're trying to showcase some of these kids and hope to give some kids to maybe a Baltimore or Philadelphia, teams that are scuffling along and are willing to give up a veteran, maybe a pitcher, Bannister, and take some kids in return who might strengthen them in a couple of areas in the near future.
4-0 Boston leading. Just one down here in the first inning. Romine played in yesterday's game. He was 0 for 3. He was just called up last Sunday.
From Pawtucket.
He was leading the league in hitting, too, there.
358, 4 home runs. There he goes. He got it picked up.
Throw to Fernandez. He's safe. He beat the throw.
John Cerutti, not quite quick enough unloading. The high leg kick. Ellis Burks guessed on him. This is a move that Maury Wills, this great base stealing year when he's still 108, pioneered. A lot of base stealers used to try and get back to the bag, getting a run down. They were out anyway, so he said, keep going. Take a beeline, hope you get a bad throw or a slow move, as Cerutti just put on, and Burks is in with a stolen base.
Well, it sure has been a struggle for John Cerutti here in the first inning.
That was the 9th for Burks. Well, again, fearing to throw that fastball early. He's gotten hurt more by breaking balls than anything else.
2 balls and a strike to Romine.
Got him.
Oh, my. Joyce, the umpire, makes the call. Looked like they had him.
Ellis Burks was somewhat mesmerized, looking in and perhaps trying to signal location to the young hitter Kevin Romine. Liriano's there, and it looked like the ball beat him. He missed everything, and the hand just got him. This is how Burks re-injured his wrist, diving into a bag.
Cerutti falls behind again, 3-1.
That's how you can tell age in former ballplayers when they say diving into a bag. Remember they used to be bags before,
Yeah.
now they're bases. Got those little things filled with straw that you could kick apart. And they're about 6 inches high and you trip all over them. They'd come loose. Now they're anchored.
Well, those Blue Jays, they've won 7 of their last 10, but right now they're behind the 8 ball against these Red Sox this afternoon. 4-0, Boston leading.
With a bullpen that's a little tired, too.
Yeah. High in the air to left center. Bell goes back.
Wynn's going to kill that one. He's tagging up. Uh-oh. He didn't get it. He dropped it. George Bell dropped it. Now, Mosby's going to argue, saying that he had control, but George isn't arguing at all. He just walked away. When it rains, it pours, folks. George.
They've
in the booth yesterday.
Like this.
Mosby was yelling to him that he is tagging up, and when he was trying to position to throw, the wind holds this ball up. It's very high, and the wind is blowing out to right field. Otherwise, it might have gone farther. He's trying to get a line. He one-hands it. He closes the glove too soon and hits the backside of the finger. I don't know why Lloyd even argued. He just missed it.
So Burks is at third. Romine at second. The batter is Rich Gedman.
He just looked like he closed the glove too soon. Anything more embarrassing than that, I don't know what it is.
Well, they were booing Bell yesterday. I'm sure they'll have another kick at him today after that play. Gedman is jabbed. Fernandez, the play.
Oh, bad throw.
Bad throw.
You take him on the run, one hand. That's what happened. We saw it in Cleveland. It was a real jam job. Cerutti just tore the bat out of Gedman's hands. Tony charged the ball well. That's going to be it for Cerutti. He just snapped the bat off right in his hand. Fernandez charging the ball hard. Tony knew that he had excellent speed in Burks at third base. Had to unload in a hurry. Didn't have a good grip. Couldn't make a good throw, so another run's home. But again, when you catch the ball with one hand, Fergie, it takes longer to get a good grip. You can go down, catch it with two, and flip the ball with the same speed and probably better accuracy. The ball squirted out of his hands. A nightmarish inning, hasn't it been?
Boy, I'll say. We haven't seen anything like this in a long time. Still just one down.
Your attention, please. Now pitching for the Blue Jays, number 21.
Well, we've got this delay in the action. Let's have another look at the SO scrapbook. Never had the SO scrapbook on.
Talk about expecting the unusual in baseball. George dropping that ball, and Tony had a chance. It was a tough play, so now we'll see 30-year-old Mark Ross out of Galveston, Texas. He's been around, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's down in Syracuse. He was 1-7 in 12 starts. And that tells you the sort of problems. They say he didn't pitch all that bad, that he pitched much better than his record indicates.
Well, they've got a guy that obviously they know can throw strikes. He's basically a sinker ball, slider ball pitcher, and you can see the strikeout to walk. But you go way back to 79 in his career when he started in Sarasota, then through Dayton, Columbus, Tucson, Houston in the National League, Columbus again, Tucson, Houston again, Tucson, Houston again. I mean, on to Vancouver, and Pittsburgh for a while. A guy who's been persistent, but with the dearth of pitchers last year and this year, you see a lot of guys like that.
This telecast presented by authority of the Toronto Blue Jays Baseball Club and may not be rebroadcast in any form without the express written consent of the Jays. First pitch by Ross. A little fly ball out into right field. Campusano. He's got a pretty good arm. And hustling back.
Boy, that was close.
Second was...
They almost doubled him off.
Yep.
You know, if you say something like John Cerutti didn't throw the ball that badly, they never let him get his feet on the ground, but really some of the hits they got, Evans off the end of the bat, that it didn't look like Freddie the grip could pick up.
Spike on.
Greenwell did get a hanging breaking ball. Error, and then the play at home plate. He could have been out of that inning with just a couple runs. But they just didn't let him get his feet on the ground at all.
Red Sox have batted around. Spike Owen, who let it all off with the fly ball out to Mosby in center field, has a chance to make 2 outs in the same inning. A little outside.
I would assume that would tie a record. I doubt that anybody's ever made 3 outs in it. You think that could happen somewhere along the way?
I can't imagine that's ever happened. Certainly on the major league level. I can see it happening in Little League. That's popped up in the infield. Liriano.
Look out, boys.
There'll be a collision. Fernandez makes the play. Wow. What a wild inning this has been here at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. The Red Sox leaded 5-0. And look at that little convention. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Can Boyd with a record of 5-5, making his 13th start And he's already started once against the Blue Jays last weekend at Boston. And he took the loss. Jays won it 6-3. He went 5 1/3 innings in that one. And that's the lineup that he'll be facing.
Well, the Jays have not been a great come-from-behind team this year. They've got the work cut out, as they say. Fernandez Mosby, the DH Molix, Val McGriff, Kelly Gruber, Ernie Witt, Camposano, and Nelson Liriano. A horrendous first. A lot of trouble, but you're going to come back. It'll be off a guy like Boyd because he has scuffled most of this year, as the ERA shows you. But he did pitch well in a loss his last outing against the Yankees. Talking about a fastball, slider, curveball, screwball, little palm ball.
And he's given up 13 home runs. Leads the staff in that department, and he's not very happy this particular time.
Well, you could tell when the Red Sox were... Well, here's their defense. Randy Kutch, Ellisberg, Kevin Romine, Boggs, Owen, Barrett, and Evans. Gedman catching Boyd today. They played Gedman really because they felt he threw better than Cerrone, or so they said. That's why they played against Cerutti, but the running game is gone for the Blue Jays now, down by 5. Started to say Jimmy Williams was not in a very good mood after those interminable meetings today. The writers tried to talk to him, the dugout, and he was very short. A lot on his mind.
Fernandez had one of his better games yesterday. Went 3 for 4. Snapped an 0 for 13 drought. But Tony certainly has been struggling at the plate. His defense has picked up considerably, I think.
Boyd coming off the arm surgery. He's thrown the ball well on occasion, but they say he's been inconsistent. Location is what they say. He's not spotting the ball where he'd like, but he says he feels fine.
This is the first time the Oil Can has ever started a game here at Exhibition Stadium. He did relieve in one before. But they scored 6 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings off him last time, so who knows? Pops that one up, Barrett out into shallow center. Burks will come in, and Burks makes the play.
You can see all the outfielders and the infielders converging anytime the ball goes up here. Not a cloud in the sky, so it is a high sky. The sun, the background, a factor. And the wind, of course.
The shaker, Lloyd Mosby. 2 hits in his last 19 at-bats. Another guy that's been struggling. You know, we were talking the other day about these Blue Jays, just to get some of them to give you a normal year. Flanagan was telling us that the other day in Cleveland on our telecast. He said, that's all we need. It's a normal year from a Mosby, a Bell, a Barfield. And he said, we could win this thing.
You are going to see a pitch on the mound, Boyd, if you've never seen him, that wears his emotions on his sleeve. They've tried to calm him down. Some of the things he did, he used to run around, congratulate his fielders, talking all the time.
I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to pitch with a 5-0 lead, isn't it?
Well, he wants to throw strikes, get ahead, put something on it. You don't have to worry about making that great first pitch. The Can's dad played in the old Negro American Leagues with some of the all-time greats, and against them.
That evens up the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. What happens when they see a new umpire like Merriweather behind the plate? And a lot of these Blue Jay hitters, they don't know a strike zone.
Well,
it does differ a little.
As inconsistent as some of the umpires are in this league, it didn't really much matter. And with Richie Phillips, as arrogant as he was, with his ego going away in the Billy Martin thing, I think sometimes umpires feel they can get away with anything they want. And that's not all of them. They've got a false sense of importance, I think, lately.
It's a full count to Mosby. 1 down, bottom of the first. All back on a play. Oh, what a gorgeous day here in Toronto. Probably over 40,000 here.
Yeah, they're sitting deep in center field, as you can see by this shot. Those cheap seats out there a long ways away. You wonder how they can even see without a telescope.
You ever sat out there and watched a ball game?
I walked out there one time, but not while the game was in progress. And in fact, did an exhibition game years ago in the old Coliseum in an All-Star game in Los Angeles. Look out, there goes the bat.
Broken bat, that ball goes into the stands. So Mosby will get a new bat.
Not much wood in that baby. He was telling me about a story about Jim Gantner. In fact, it happened against the Red Sox. Jim Gantner says some different things as the Milwaukee Brewers second baseman. He went up against, I think it might have been Clemens, and took a pitch for ball one, took a pitch for strike one, took a pitch for ball two, took a pitch for strike two, and was called out on strikes. Never swung the bat. Went back to the bench, shattered his bat, said there's no wood in this bat. He never took the bat off his shoulder.
You notice Mosby's bat, he shaves quite a bit of wood off that handle.
And you get the weight down, they've got to dry the bats out, take the moisture out to get that extra ounce out, to get them down to 31, 32 ounce, the lightness of the bats. And when you do that, it's like balsa when they shatter in the hand.
Ground ball to Owen, the shortstop. And he gets Mosby, 2 down. That'll bring up one of the hottest hitters in the Blue Jays lineup, Rance Mulliniks, who's the DH today. Mulliniks with the big pinch hit double to drive home Kelly Gruber with a tying run in yesterday's game in the 8th inning. Something like 5 for 7 as a pinch hitter. And you've said it so often, he could be the best hitter on this team.
Well, he's the smartest. He's not the best. When he looks for a ball away, he's usually going to drive it to the opposite field. When he looks for a ball in, he's usually going to pull it. And a lot of guys look for pitches and they can't execute. I think Jesse has that trouble, Barb. If you look for something inside, he can't get the bat out to pull it. Rance, when he's looking, he's going to hit it hard somewhere.
Drives it to Burks at center field, and he steps back 3 or 4 steps, makes the catch. 3 up, 3 down for Dennis Oil Can Boyd and the Boston Red Sox. And after 1 here in Toronto, the Red Sox lead it 5-0. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Board, the Red Sox leading 5-0. Mike Greenwell with a big 3-run homer in the first inning for Boston. Here in the second, Barrett, Boggs, and Evans will face the right-hander Mark Ross. Ross just called up a few days ago from Syracuse.
And this outing from Mark Ross, very important as all. When you're a journeyman and you're trying to get back in the big leagues, make some money, as a slider, looking at a guy who knows he's only going to be here for a short while, but if he does do well, talking about Mark Ross, he's got a chance to hook up with another team in the major leagues. So this is very, very important to him. You know, watching him warm up, taking his warm-up between innings for his changeup, but you just saw, it looks like he threw a palm ball. Fingers fly up, and the ball seems to roll off the thumb and get an overspin where it drops out of sight. It's thrown well and low in the strike zone.
2-1 pitch is outside. Barrett singled and scored in the first. He's jammed, hits the ball down to Gruber. Gruber to McGriff, and Barrett is out of there.
You know, this is the kind of day, Fergie, where I would be a bit surprised. And again, speculation, as you said, that before this game's over with or right after the game, there's a move made within the organization, or maybe a trade.
Number 26, Wade
It seems to be one of those kinds of days where with all the commotion on the bench, and said something appears to be in the wind. What it'll be, we don't know, but if we do hear something before we go off the air, we'll try and clue you in.
Wade Boggs, the hitter, takes a strike on that first pitch. He walked and scored in the first inning. Fly ball to center field. Mosby coming in, and he makes the play. 2 down.
An off-speed pitch. Wade gets a little on the end of the bat. See right where it hit, not on the sweet spot. A little bit of the weight gone. He's out in front, lunging a little bit. Allows Lloyd Mosby to get under it in right center field.
We got a door open.
Well, Ross came in with 1 down, 5 runs in. And Randy Kutcher, he got him, then he got Spike Owen. So he did a pretty good job. He retired 4 in a row. tell you, I sat in the stands yesterday afternoon with the kids, and I'll tell you one thing. There's a lot of people do an awful lot of talking down there.
Were they booing you a lot?
Oh, they were booing Bell. They kept saying, what about these Blue Jays? What are we going to do?
Did you have the answers?
We always try to have the answers. They're never the right ones.
I don't know if anybody can
No,
answer
you
the
don't.
inconsistency. You sweep 4 in Boston, you go get swept in Cleveland.
Evans draws a walk, and that'll bring up Mike Greenwell. And, you know, in talking with a couple of guys in the Red Sox, they were saying that they played lousy a 4-game series in Boston against the Blue Jays. And they went into New York and played some of the best baseball they played all season long. So how do you figure it out?
That's what Bob Montgomery, one of the broadcasters, said. He said, gee, they really had a lot of life, a lot of hustle. Looked like they wanted to play. Come in here, they struggled for 2 games.
This is the guy that hit the 3-run homer in the first inning, Mike Greenwell. On a 1-2 pitch. Lines it to center field. Mosby back to the wall. Off his glove. Now Evans comes around and he'll score. It is 6-0 for Boston.
An interesting scoring decision. It's not an easy play, but Lloyd, I don't know if he saw the wall out of the corner of his eye and tried to halt, and the ball popped out of his glove.
It's a ball that should have been caught.
Would have been difficult, but Lloyd got a good jump initially. Change up down, a little bit away to Greenwell. He has good swings almost every time up. Now you'll see Lloyd start breaking, knowing he's near the warning track, and he may have peeked at the wall, and the ball pops out of his glove. We still haven't seen the official scoring, and all this time with 2 outs, Evans is on the move.
6-0, Boston leading.
2-out base on balls and a misplayed fly ball to Mosby.
Ellis Burks takes a breaking ball for a strike. Sounded like it was an error.
Yep.
Given to Mosby.
8. So now George has dropped the ball in left field. A lot easier one than the one Mosby just dropped. Reset it.
A ball and a strike to Burks. So a tough break for that young man right there, Mark Ross. Off the middle, base hit. Greenwell will come in to score. It is 7-0 for Boston here in the 2nd inning.
So that ball that just popped out of Mosby's glove a while ago, sometimes tough catches, but what he just did to me is inexcusable. He didn't charge that ball at all at artificial surface, didn't even attempt to make the play and try and throw the guy on home plate. An artificial surface and the ball that's hit that hard, that was brooding over the play before this. You've got Greenwell, who's not an exceptionally fast runner at second base, making a wide turn, and Lloyd just trotted in and lobbed it into second base. Wow. He was still thinking about the ball that popped out of his glove and perhaps saw an error register on the board and felt that was unfair, but I thought it was a good call by the official score.
Romine got out in the first inning on a fly ball dropped by George Bell. 2 down, 2nd inning, 7-0, Boston leading. Folks, we are in a laugher.
Which side? A lot of time to go. You got to get 27 outs, one way or the other. Boyd hasn't pitched well. You get
Sure hasn't pitched
You get
well.
into the bullpen of Boston. They've struggled. But you don't like the lackadaisical style of play at this point by the Blue Jays.
Problem is, if a guy's not hustling, what do? You set him on the bench, leave him there for a while, shake him up?
That's the only.
Who can you bring up?
That's the only power that a manager has. Ultimately, is the power of the lineup card.
That's John
Yeah. Lack of hustle. I think Lloyd was really just thinking about the last play. The ball, unfortunately, happened to hit right back to him. There's not an excuse for it, but even if he didn't have a chance to get the runner off second base, the effort didn't appear to be there.
2 strikes to Kevin Romine. Fouls that one back out of play.
2 quick outs by right-hander Mark Ross. Then the walk, then the air, then the single. It has been said before, but from day one of spring training, that mystical word chemistry has not been here on this Blue Jay team. And the front office is aware of it. I know some players are aware of it. You get the few injuries, the inconsistency, not hitting with men on. You hit, you don't pitch. You're pitching, you don't hit.
On the other hand, you look at the last 2 games the Jays played against Boston. They were exciting ones. Well played. Romine is out of there. He goes after a bad pitch. But those Red Sox score 2 more runs and lead 7-0. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. George Bell will lead it off for the Blue Jays, who trail 7-0. Dennis Oil Can Boyd on the mound for Boston. He has lost 3 of his last 4 starts. And right now, the Blue Jays have a long way to come back.
George has walked from the on-deck circle to the batter's box. He's heralded by a chorus of boos.
He has 3 hits in his last 33 at-bats. His average, he's lost 46 points on his average. Look back to May the 10th, hitting .331. And even then, he was getting his base hits, but wasn't really hitting for power.
Saw Cito Gaston quoted in the newspaper, the instructor saying that there's not a mechanical problem with George Bell. They're just pitching him differently after his MVP year. I think a little differently, and see the entire context of what Cito said, but he's really pulling off the ball. His shoulders flying, trying to pull everything. And
you watch his footwork in the batter's box. To me, it seems like he doesn't have his balance in there. The proper weight shift.
Well, I still think the little injury to his right hand, where he swung with one hand for a while, has made him alter his swing a little bit. George is too tough. He's not going to say anything.
Ground ball. Boggs, the third baseman. 1 down.
I'm not saying there's an injury there now with George, but I think there was earlier, a little bone bruise in his right hand, and you alter your swing, and all of a sudden, you have difficulty getting it back, even as great a natural hitter as George Bell is.
Well, a lot of disappointed Blue Jay fans here today so far. They came to watch their Jays, and they're trailing 7-0, second inning. Freddie McGriff.
This is really the first time I can recall in the Blue Jays history that there have been this many chorus of boos for Blue Jays players, because of the salaries some of them are making and the expectations are so high. They were expected to be a contender right out of the gates out of spring training.
Well, yesterday Bell went 0 for 5, and after he had struck out, I think it was his 5th plate appearance, or his 4th, actually. Been walking back to the dugout, and his helmet, hands up in the air, and the fans were booing him. I saw George last night after the game, and I said, George, does it bother you, the boos? He said, no, it doesn't, but you know that it does.
Yeah, players say they can block it out, but I don't think you can block it all out.
Is there a hole in that bat? Fastball just misses outside. A ball and 2 strikes to McGriff.
Freddie caught it twice. Once the first time and once on the backswing. Freddie with that big swing standing deep in the box. You'll see this ball come off his bat the second time, but a catcher's got to be careful. You'll see a catcher like Gedman, they will not get quite as close underneath the hitter because of that long backswing. They get zonked on the back of the head.
Evens it up at 2-2. McGriff is having a sensational season. '24-year-old who had 20 home runs last year. 4th in the American League in runs scored.
Remind you, the 13th, 735, the Indians still challenging in the East, 2 games behind the Yankees going in today. right here at Exhibition Stadium.
Of course, Cleveland sweeping that 3-game series with the Blue Jays.
Indians have lost 3 in a row now.
That's the first strikeout for Oil Can. He's retired 5 in a row, and that'll bring up the third baseman, Kelly Gruber.
The third baseman, number 17.
Gruber on an 11-game hitting streak.
That was the Oil Can Boyd screwball. Didn't really have the great action going down and away, but you can see Freddie by that outstanding shot from our third base camera swinging way over the top of that ball. The change of speeds and the change of directions completely fooled the grip. You know, Oil Can get the ball up there at times in the high 80s. He's got a little pop. Even he thinks he's thrown as hard as before the arm surgery. Just a matter of consistency. There's a change, but up in the strike zone.
And we might have a play. Boggs had a play, actually. That ball hit foul territory, but he could have made the catch.
Well, the wind blew it back, and you can see Wade was also battling a pretty tough sun. Players with the glasses wearing the lamp black beneath their eyes. Gets a little piece of the tarp right there as he goes by it. He's become a pretty accomplished third baseman.
Sure works hard enough.
They talked about, takes his ground balls the same time every day, does his running the same time. But he was supposed to be known for his bat in the minor leagues, and he doesn't have great range, but he's become a very steady third baseman. See that curveball.
Down the box. Gruber really hustling down that line, but the throw beats him. Well, once again, the Oil Can retires the side in order. 6 in a row for Boyd and the Red Sox. They lead at 7-0. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. The Boston Red Sox, having sent 16 hitters to the plate in the first 2 innings, have a 7-0 lead. Gedman, Kutcher, and Owens will face the right-hander Mark Ross.
Well, the win today, the Blue Jays would have been able to pass the Red Sox in the standings. They're just a half game behind them. They got a long way to come back, though.
Blue Jays 3 games under 500. The Red Sox 2 under. I know I've been saying all along, all those Blue Jays have to do is try to get back to 500 and then take it from there.
Well, after the 4-game sweep up in Fenway Park, they were heading in a good direction, and then Cleveland hit them.
The 1-1 pitch is low, 2-1.
I think the time is long past when the Blue Jay players can still say that it was because of the battle incident in spring training. That's so many months ago. They look at themselves in a little different light now. Yes, there have been injuries.
If you're looking
the
for an
Yankees have had
excuse,
injuries. I mean, what the heck? The Yankees have had Clark out. He missed April. Mattingly's been out almost 2 weeks. And Henderson and Randolph yesterday, and Candelario missed a start or two. Roden, they keep plucking away.
they're not even healthy, and they're still winning. So Gedman's out of there.
Well, with injuries, even if you just want to hang in there, just keep your head above water and hope you get everybody back and healthy, and then you can make your run.
Fielder number 55, Randy Kutcher.
Jays have had no consistency.
As I was about to say, though, if you're looking for an excuse, you can hang your hat on everything or anything. Do you think the Blue Jays are still serious contenders? Rather interesting question.
Serious is an important word in that context of that question.
There are the numbers. 50 cents a call. Give us a call. Tell us what you think.
Well, you might remember here, not too many years back, where this Boston Red Sox team, and a pretty good one, not better than this one, had a big lead early in August over the Yankees. That was the Bucky Dent year. They had about 10, 12 games or something in July. I forgot the exact, and there have been some great comebacks, but basically that was the Yankees coming back on the Red Sox. This is the Blue Jays trying to come back with 5 other teams ahead of them. It's a little different.
Well, Mark Ross really hasn't done a bad job. The 2 runs that the Red Sox scored in the second, both unearned. A ball and 2 strikes to Randy Kutcher, who's making his first start today in left field. And he's looking for his first hit of the season. Down to Gruber. 2 down.
Ross looks like he's got a pretty idea how to pitch. Pull the string on Gedman, hit him on the end of the bat, and then he just run a little fastball in on the fist of Kutcher and jammed him.
Number 7, Spike.
So he's not the kind of guy that appears to be overpowering, but you can spot the ball that way. He might become a pretty good long or middle reliever for some team.
Well, he's, as you pointed out earlier, he's been up and down for a cup of coffee, but he does have a major league victory over the Cardinals back in '84, and his only major league save also against the Cards in '85. Spike Owen.
You look at some of the ages, some of the pitchers coming up the last couple of years, Lazarco and Bice over in California, the Cuban Alvarez from Atlanta, 31 years old, a rookie. Goes on and on. Minton resurrected his career. He's with the Angels now. So there are a lot of spots for a guy who can throw some strikes and get some hitters out.
John Cerutti started this game for the Blue Jays and lasted just 1/3 of an inning.
Looks like the little palm ball again. And Owen's completely fooled.
A bit of a horror show here, hasn't it, with the errors by Bell and Mosby in the outfield.
Well, each pitcher threw a walk in that hurt him also. Boggs walked the first off John. He came on to score. Evans walked after 2 outs. He came on to score. There was an error in there to help it along, but so many times those walks compound the pitcher's problem.
A full count to Spike Owen. He's 0 for 2. Flied out in the first, popped up in the second. Fly ball, right field, Campusano. He's got it for the 3rd out. So we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning with Boston leading by 7. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Lead it off for the Blue Jays, bottom of the 3rd inning. Boston leading 7-0. Dennis Oil Can Boyd has retired 6 in a row. Ernie didn't play in yesterday's game, although he did get in as a pinch hitter late in the ball game. Talk about guys struggling. He has just 4 extra base hits. And here we are. What is the date today? June the 13th? 14th?
Try the 12th.
Try the 12th. Well, I knew I was close.
The only reason I knew is I looked at the top of my stat sheet here. You know, Ernie perhaps is one of those hitters who had a good year doing what he did last year with a spread out stance and open. Maybe you have to change a little bit. As the pitchers adjust to you, you've got to do something a little different.
It's a foul ball.
Well, Can Boyd, who at times is known as a little bit of a power pitcher, although he's always thrown a wide assortment of pitches, but hitting, like anything else in sports, is rhythm and timing, and he does a good job when he's right, upsetting the timing with changing speeds on the little screwball, changing speeds on the curveball. A little different in and out with a fastball. Most guys after an arm problem, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. They've got to learn how to pitch instead of just throw.
Ernie will be 36 years old tomorrow. What's going to happen with him? Will he be declared a free agent? Apparently something's supposed to happen this next week.
But they say the second collusion, alleged collusion, Mr. Nicolau, they're still waiting for the damages if there are going to be any, Mr. Roberts. But that's the thing, you know, there's some fear. Marvin Miller, the former executive director of the Major League Players Association, feels that justice delayed, his words, is unfair and stuff. And he feels that if there's going to be a ruling, that the players ought to be sprung right now, not at the end of the season. It'll be tough for Nicolau to do, though.
2-2 pitch. Line down the right field line. And it's a foul ball.
A little bit out in front. He got fooled by the change of speeds.
Ernie's only got 1 home run. Last year he hit 19.
little changeup. Ernie was a little bit out in front, and he hit it so hard it hooked foul.
So he'll come back and try and do it again. Pitches high and away. It's a full count, Ernie. Baltimore leading the Yankees. Tommy John on the mound for New York. Tibbs for Baltimore. And Detroit behind the pitching of Frank Tanana. Scott Bales for Cleveland. Oh, and the shortstop makes the play on Ernie Whitt. That's 7 in a row for Oil Can.
Detroit is just sneaking up on everybody, aren't they? They're still looking for a bat to replace Gibson. A little power, they are hard to find, but they're pitching, and now they've got Henneman back.
Tony, have you ever seen a manager get as much out of the talent that Sparky has had over the last few years in Detroit?
You know, Sparky's interesting in that the 75 and 76 back-to-back championships with the Cincinnati Reds, perhaps as good a team as been in this era. But they had great talent, and Detroit had great talent. Now they're getting older, but Sparky's learned one thing, that you don't have to have great talent to win. He's created a chemistry. He looks for winning-type personalities, leadership.
Fly ball by Campusano. Kutcher makes the play. That's 8 in a row for the Oil Can. And that'll bring up the second baseman, Nelson Liriano.
With a big lead, all Can's trying to do is get ahead, mix up his pitches with something on him, not nibble and get in trouble.
Second baseman, number 2, Nelson Liriano.
Nelson's been swinging the bat pretty well in his last, what, 20, 25 at-bats?
10 hits his last 19 at-bats, but he's been taking a lot of extra BP. Every day on the road, he's out there. He drops a bunt down. Getman out. And Liriano beats it out.
I think what happened was, I think Evans cheated too much. He came off the bag too soon. So Victor Otazio did the safe sign, and a very, very close call is going to bring John McNamara out for a little discussion. The backspin brings the ball right back to Rich Gedman. Makes an off-balance throw. We may be able to see Boyd pulling for it. It was bang, bang. From the naked eye, it appeared like
they had him.
I did too. I thought he was out. He's out.
Yep, he is out.
Foot is still on the bag. Montaggio, first base hit of the game. McNamara won't leave. I believe Nelson Liriano got a break on the first base hit off Boyd with 2 outs in the third.
And that will bring up Tony Fernandez, who flied out in the first inning.
That ball's in Evans' glove, his foot. First now coming off the bag, and Liriano's foot was at least 2 feet from it while the ball was in Evans' glove.
So break for the Blue Jays. The first hit off the Oil Can. Down the line, fair ball. He's got a chance to score. Liriano, the ball gets bouncing around in the corner. It'll be a 2-base hit. Liriano will stay at third.
Break for the Red Sox. Liriano is going to score easily.
Center fielder, number 15.
This is one of those deals down in the bullpen where if it's your team, you can kind of scramble a little bit, accidentally on purpose let the ball hit you and get yourself a ground rule double. You scatter out of the way in a hurry, Liriano might have scored. Liriano picks up his coach, and you can see they scatter. The ball pops up off. I don't know if it hit the mound and popped up in the stands.
Maybe the bench down there. Phil Mosby. He grounded out to Spike Owen, the shortstop. 2 down. The Blue Jays have Liriano at third, Fernandez at second. A chance to get a couple of runs.
It's also one of those that a fan reaches out in the playing field, then it's umpire's judgment. He could have placed the runners where he thought they might have made it, but when it bounces in untouched, then it's the ground rule double.
Base hit, left field. Talk about a break for the Blue Jays.
going to probably get the bullpen going. A fastball up and out over the plate. If you want to throw up, you better throw up and in to Lloyd Moseby, which is throwing fastballs. So a call by Voltaggio that he appeared to miss from our replays. And then Fernandez and Moseby capitalize on it.
Now Mullenix, who flied out to Burks in center field as Moseby gets back.
You're talking about a Red Sox staff that is scuffled more than anything else. Roger Clemens, ERA below 2, and then you look at some starting pitchers, and they have struggled. Hurst has 7 wins, but ERA is over 3.5, so he's been inconsistent. That big 3 coming out of spring training. Only Clemens has really produced like they thought he would.
There goes Moseby, and that pitch is fouled out of play. Even 5 runs down, Moseby on the move, trying to steal a base to get into scoring position.
Well, perhaps feeling that Boyd, a little bit upset by the call at first base and a couple of quick base hits, not paying attention, so Lloyd's going to take advantage of it. Kind of play if you get thrown out. Down by 5. It's a lousy play.
Ball and a strike to Mullenix. Mullenix with 16 hits in his last 32 plate appearances. 500. Wow. He has been hot. Here's the 2-1 pitch. There goes Moseby. The throw by Gedman. They got him.
What you call DB, dumb baseball. All except it couldn't blown out the right. Gedman in today because he throws better than Cerrone. The ball beat him there, and even though Lloyd might have sneaked his hand in before the tag, the ball beat him there, and the rookie umpire punches him out.
7-2 Boston leading. You're watching the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Mark Ross, as the deficit is cut to 5 now, will face Barrett, Boggs, and Evans. We're in the top of the 4th. A nice day, a nice crowd, but so far, not very nice baseball played by the Toronto Blue Jays.
A couple of errors by their outfielders, Bell and Moseby.
Runner thrown out. Second base when you're down by 5 with your number 3 hitter up, Rance Mullix with a hot bat. Tony Fernandez had a shot at a play at home plate, threw it wildly. Would have been a close play. 2 balls, 1 strike to Marty Barrett. He was single, scored a run, and also grounded out. Popped up left side. Kelly Gruber being called off by Fernandez, 1 out. Here's Lloyd. After he singled to left field, driving home 2, tries to run on Boyd and Gedman.
Notice how quickly Gedman released that ball.
He actually has beaten the throw, but for some reason the second base umpire called him. But regardless, that's not a good play when you're 5 runs down.
I thought he had his hand in there. It looked like he might have been safe.
You just don't do cute things like that when you're 3-hitter up with a hot bat.
About that.
You're down by 5. And the manager should not have to give you the stop sign at first base to know that you should stay glued. 2 balls, no strikes on Wade Boggs. You talk about troubles. How'd you like to have your picture name flashed all over the front pages in Boston with a $6 million lawsuit? The lynch charge, the palimony charge against Wade. Wow.
Saturday and Sunday, last weekend while we were there. Front page stories.
3-0 to Wade. 3 balls, 1 strike. Boggs, he was left unprotected. Wasn't on the 40-man roster before he came up, and some team in Major League Baseball could have had him for a $25,000 price. Hit deeply to center field. Lloyd, you better hurry, pal. He gets this one and hits very, very hard into the center field wall. He drifted back and then accelerated, made a nice running catch, and hit at left shoulder and hand, and hopefully just knocked the wind out of his sails. A tough play hit directly over Lloyd's head. It's a deep straightaway center field. Tommy Craig out quickly. Jimmy Williams to follow. The way he's holding his stomach.
It looks like he just had the wind knocked out of him. But if you go back to the second inning on a ball that Mike Greenwell hit, and Mosby went back to his left over the shoulder, a ball he should have caught. And this one, it looked like it was a tougher play for him. Directly over, straight over his head.
Well, he must have had a little funny comment. He had Trapisano laughing. So Lloyd's up. He's going to continue. 40,000 or so. Give him a nice round of applause. So he retires Boggs. A 3-1 fastball right down the middle. A little sinking action to it.
Never takes his eye off the ball. Notice that. Does not run to a spot. It's difficult to do today because of the bright sun. And because of the background, the sky and everything else, you can't take your eye off that ball.
You know, and Lloyd might have been lucky in this. He got the wind knocked out of his sails, but I think he hit between a couple of metal poles, the braces out there in that center field fence. Hit more of a spot that had a little more give. But he makes a nice running catch for the second out of the fourth. Boston leads it 7-2. Evans is singled, scored, walked, and scored. John Cerutti struggled in the first inning. Mark Ross came on to replace him, trying to hang tough and hope the Jays can throw up some runs.
It's going to be tough on Evans, doesn't it? He's been playing some right field, playing some first base. He's been back and forth.
Well, he played a good part of the second half of last season at first base because the kids started coming along. Greenwell last year, Todd Benzinger. They had Brady Anderson. Tony scoops it. He'll have to make a throw. 6-3 to Freddie McGriff. So Mark Ross has retired 7 in a row. We'll go to the bottom of the fourth here at Exhibition Stadium. Boston leads it 7-2. You're watching the Bats. Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Dennis Ray Boyd will go to the bottom of the fourth with a 5-run lead. Base hit right field. First pitch off the bat of Rance Mullix.
That'd look a lot better, wouldn't it, with Mosby standing down there at first?
So it'll bring up Val, followed by Freddie McGriff.
Left fielder, number 11,
Boyd just trying to get ahead with a first pitch fastball, and Rance Mullix jumps all over. A mixed chorus of boos and cheers.
I don't think that's going to let up until Bell delivers.
Well, Ted Williams was booed in Fenway Park, Mantle, Yankee Stadium, Maris after him. It goes with being a star, folks. The expectation. They want you to hit a home run every time up once you've had that MVP year.
Come on, George! Come on!
Should be 2. Owens. Oh my. Owens, Barrett to Evans. The double play off the bat of George Bell. Boyd took a little off, got George on the end of the bat.
George had 3 or 4 ground ball outs in yesterday's ball game, all of the second baseman.
Little off-speed slider.
Yeah, here this one, first time up, he grounded up to the third baseman. Now he hits the shortstop for this double play, and he's had a tough time just getting the ball out of the infield.
So George now is grounded into 6 double plays on the year. A hard slide, but Mullix, but he couldn't get there in time. Freddie McGriff struck out. The second. Barrett's got this one, a very, very easy inning for Oil Can Boyd. Mulnick single, Bell DP, McGriff a little ground out. 4 are gone here at Exhibition Stadium. With Boyd and the Red Sox leading 7-2. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Boston 7, Toronto 2. Go to the top of the 5th. Mike Greenwell, a 3-run home run. That's been the big blow of the game so far, that in the first. And Ellis Burks, he's got a single run scored, and Kevin Romine. Mark Ross has done a good job. Changes speed. Short center field. Lloyd picks it up. He's got it. Well, our friends from the Dominican Republic, and I know you were down there this past off-season for George Bell's golf tournament, charity, here in town, came in last night from the Dominican. Will stay through the Cleveland series, through the radio broadcast back to the Dominican Republic. Johnny Naranjo just stopped in to visit with Fergie and me over in a commercial. They don't have much to cheer about, though. Not at this point.
How many games are they going to do?
I guess this one and the 3 against Cleveland. Nelson Liriano's got a base hit for him and scored a run. George Bell 0 for 2. Campusano with the flyout. The 3 Dominicans in the lineup today. Oh, Tony Fernandez has a single. He's 1 for 2. So you've got Fernandez from San Pedro, Campusano, Liriano, and Bell.
The Dominican connection.
4 ninths. The Blue Jays starting lineup. Island of Hispaniola. Shot to the left side and a 2-0 count. Gruber to McGriff. Tires Ellis Burks.
It's 9 in a row for him. Do you think the Blue Jays are still serious contenders? Look at that vote. 230 fans say no, and 177 say yes. Interesting. Pretty tough when you're 9.5 games out behind the Yankees, and you're watching a Sunday afternoon game, and it was 7-0 to the Boston Red Sox when we asked for that fan vote.
Well, after today, there will be 100 games to go, and a lot of ground can be made up in 100 games. But our pitching staff's going to have to be put together with more consistency in the starting rotation to get more quality starts. There's Joe Morgan. His name was rumored just the other day in some papers I saw. If McNamara goes, would Joe Morgan take his place? Man to the organization. 2 strikes. Mark Ross pitching to Kevin Romine.
Boston's in the same situation, though. When you look down at their minor leagues, who do they bring up to help the ball club? Guys like Romine and Kutcher.
Well, Brady Anderson's there, but where he started the season. Yeah. Todd Bendinger is disabled, but what they're looking for is some pitching. They thought that Clemens, Hurst, and Boyd would be solid. I want to remind you about our next telecast, June 19th. Toronto, Detroit. Check your local listings.
Blue Jays go in there for a 4-game series starting Thursday.
2 and 2, 2 outs.
That's always a good series, too, regardless.
Chuck Merriweather punches out Kevin Romine. So a nice string of pitching now by Mark Ross, the veteran journeyman. We go to the bottom of the 5th. 7-2 Red Sox. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. That 5-run first for the Red Sox started very peacefully. Owen popped out, and then the fireworks hit. Base hit, walk, base hit, 3-run home run, single, a couple of errors. 2 more on 1 base hit in the second. Another error, center field. Fouled off. That got a lot of Rich Gedman.
If there's been a bright light in this game, it certainly has been Mark Ross, who has retired 10 in a row. Coming out of the bullpen in relief of starter John Cerutti, who lasted just 1/3 of an inning. Gave up 5 runs, 4 of them earned, 4 hits, didn't strike out anybody, and walked 1.
So Gedman checks the mask, checks to see that all the pieces are in place. Checked through the home plate umpire, Merriweather, and I said, let's play ball. Merriweather, I believe he's the only black umpire now, is he, in the American League? They've got 2 in the National League, something that Commissioner Peter Uberoth has tried to pioneer. Trying to get more minorities in the baseball front offices, managerial positions, the umpiring ranks. 2-1 to Gruber. Boggs should have it on Kubek. Hops, flip throw, he's got it.
Gruber's trying to keep alive his 11-game hitting streak.
The catcher.
Oh, he has been a model of consistency this year for the Blue Jays.
Ernie Witt popped up to short in the third. You fans are probably aware that there's been a labor dispute in our industry up here in Canada. The local flagship station, CFTO, has locked out the NABET people. I guess that's the proper labor terminology. So we're sharing a feed with the Boston Red Sox. A lot of ball games and doing a good job. We wish the NABET people luck. Miss you. Hurry on back, folks. One strike, 1 out. 7-2 Boston. One and one. Blue Jays came up with their 2 runs on 3 base hits in the third. They got a little bit of a break. It looked like Liriano was out for the 3rd out on a bunt that Gedman fielded. And the ball got in the right field corner, 2nd and 3rd. Mosby drove them both home. 2 balls and a strike.
That last pitch looked like a pretty good one, didn't it? Witt has gone 26 games now without a home run.
Hit hard in the right field corner. Ernie may have 2. He will. So the Jays with an out in the 5th, trying to get something going.
This pitch by Boyd, right down the heart of the plate, and Witt turns on it, hits it down the line, and you'll see where it bounces up into the stands, the automatic 2-base hit.
Well, Oil Can is doing one thing, just really trying to throw strikes. He got behind 2-1.
Now Williams was out discussing with home plate umpire Chuck Merriweather.
I just wonder if Merriweather, Jimmy went out to ask if a fan reached out into the playing surface and touched it before it bounded in. If it bounds in untouched, it's a double. We always use the terminology ground rule double. It's not a ground rule at all. Or are they going to make Boyd take the gold off from around his neck?
Yeah, that's what Billy Martin did the other day in New York.
It all started really with Pascual Perez. We used to wear about 50 ounces of gold around his neck and all. Can says, I ain't going to take it out. It's not bothering anybody. I'm not taking it. Well, if you are a lip reader or if you hear the parabolic mic, we will say exactly expletives deleted.
That's exactly what Williams wanted. Witt with his double. There's 1 down, 5th inning. And so he comes out of the dugout to upset Oil Can Boyd. And he's done the job. Oil Can's really upset. Look at him.
It's ruled out. This is something that John McNamara and Billy Fisher, pitching from Boston, have tried for years to try and have a good balance between an over-emotional Oil Can Boyd and one who is emotional but within some kinds of bounds. Well, obviously he's lost it.
Well, first of all, they know that the opposing managers are going to do this now that Martin has done it. Williams will do it here today.
Well, Billy, it was after Richie Phillips, the umpires, did their silly thing, saying Billy had to stay on the dugout like an altar boy. Billy did one game. The next game, the first thing he did went to home plate very peaceably and asked the umpires to have a pitcher remove the goal. But that's been going on for a few years now.
But why would Oil Can even wear it?
Well, it's really kind of silly because are you going to tell me that the sun is reflecting off that gold and flashing back in the hitter's eyes? I guess that's the contention.
I would say all depends who bought the gold.
So Mac leads Got himself a charm bracelet for his lovely wife. Baseball is getting to the point where this kind of stuff is almost ridiculous. The box, supposed new strike zone, and you can't slide hard to second base. You can't throw close to hitters. It's like a tea party rather than a ball game.
Well, all Williams wanted to do is upset Oil Can. Let's see if he accomplishes that.
He might upset him so much that he may start throwing a little harder, wipe a few hitters out. There's one out. Witt's on second base. We're in the bottom of the fifth. The Jays trailing by 5. Sil Campusano. Foul back. Silvestre's swing getting better and better as Cito Gaston worked all through spring training. Barfield not playing today. Jimmy Williams told the writers before that when asked, is this a benching? Jimmy said, no, I just want him to get the cobwebs out of his head, settle back, watch a few days, take some extra base, extra hitting if he chooses to. Just missed upstairs. 1-1.
You know that Jimmy's been kind to his players all year long, has never said anything bad about them publicly.
Well, there have been a lot of closed-door meetings with individual players, more often this year than ever before. Veterans not producing. 2-1 to Campusano. He's one hyper fella, isn't he? Can. A little bit of the same kind of showmanship of the Bird, Mark Fidrich. To the breaking ball. 3 balls and a strike. Campusano. There's your base runner, Ernie Witt, after a ground out by Gruber. Ernie doubled in the right field corner. Campusano hitting at just .213. Second. Ball 4. First and second with 1 out. And the 9th place hitter, Nelson Liriano, to step in against Boyd.
So far, so good for Blue Jay manager Jimmy Williams.
Liriano got the first base hit. 2 outs in the third on a bunt down in front of home plate. Boyd, dad, Willie James, played for the old Homestead Grays in the Negro American Leagues. 2 brothers played professionally. He had a pretty good college coach. Scipio Spinks, remember him from the old St. Louis Cardinals? Spinks, the man who taught the Can that little screwball. Ball 1 to Liriano.
He's got a couple of home runs this year. He hit one the other night off Doug Jones in the 9th inning in Cleveland.
That's something that Cito Gaston is trying to prevent. A little guy like this, it's a home run. Then he starts overswinging. Something they've tried to cut down is the swing of Liriano. Hit the ball more on the ground than in the air, especially on the turf. Line drives and ground balls rather than warning track fly balls. 3 balls, no strikes to Nelson Liriano.
Now look at Dwight Evans comes in, has a few things to say to Oil Can, saying, come on, settle down out there.
Ball 4. A double and 2 consecutive walks will bring up Tony Fernandez to the batter's box. And John McNamara out of the dugout.
Well, I think Jimmy Williams accomplished what he wanted to do. Get the Can riled by asking him to take those gold chains off. Witt's at third, Campusano at second, Liriano. Back-to-back walks by Oil Can.
Boyd stomping and storming all over the artificial surface. Very upset at Jimmy Williams and the umpires, all but refusing to take the gold off his neck. Now he's lost his composure and his control of the bullpen throwing. I want to remind you, as Bob Stanley begins to throw for the Red Sox, the Labatt's player of the game for Boston will receive the new Canon Sure Shot Multi-Tele with the auto-retractable wide and tele-autofocus lens. This fully automatic camera, loaded with extras, is available now. The cannon. Sure shot. Multitelli. Fernandez is flied out and single. Making a double. Ball wrapped around. In the Red Sox bullpen.
Bob Stanley's had some pretty good numbers against the Blue Jays over the years.
Tony hitting just below 260, but he does have 25 runs batted in. Ball one with the bases loaded.
Is that about 7 or 8 balls in a row? 9 to be exact.
Tony taking all the way. One ball, one strike, one out.
Hitting .314 this year with runners in scoring position.
Two and one. Prior to the walk to Camposano, John McNamara had not seen Boyd walk the Blue Jays. Now ball should be 2. Barrett, Owen. Boyd pitches out of it. 9 consecutive balls, and then Fernandez grounds into a double play. So, after 5 at Exhibition Stadium, Boyd skyrockets right into the clubhouse, still very upset, but he still has a 5-run lead. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Along with Fergie Albert, Tony Kubek at Exhibition Stadium, where a little bit of a promise was snuffed out by a ground ball double play. Now with the 2 double plays by Bell and Fernandez in the 5th. It is 56 double plays the Blue Jays have grounded out into so far this season. Only 2 teams in the American League have done it more times. The Seattle Mariners and the Boston Red Sox. Team that Pat Gillick tried to build around speed for the turf. That's why they've got the Lirianos and the Camposanos in the lineup and make use of speed. Hooked foul.
Don Chevrier is not with us today. He's in Chicago doing a fight for ESPN. He'll be back next Sunday.
Gedman has grounded out twice. One of those, ground ball to shortstop, got him an RBI. Fernandez could not get the runner Burks coming to home plate. Foul back, Witt pursued. Will it stay fair? It's out of play.
Red Sox 2 games under 500, and those Blue Jays 3 under. Blue Jays with a, if they could have defeated or if they should defeat Boston today, they could move ahead of them in the standings. But right now they trail by 5.
Yankees with a 2-game lead over the Tigers. Tigers percentage point lead over the Cleveland Indians. Then Milwaukee 8 back, Boston 9, Toronto 9.5, Baltimore 22.5 games back. So the firing of Cal Ripken Sr. did no good. 1 and 2. Should be playable. Gruber drifting into foul territory. I'll tell you, there is more miscommunication. You see it in the outfield today. Saw it in Cleveland, middle of last week.
A couple of plays involving Fernandez.
Routine pop-ups.
Left fielder number 55.
They're near collisions.
Randy Kutcher.
John McNamara has seen the same thing. John McNamara, this is a replay of Jimmy Williams. I don't know if Mac is yelling across at Jimmy Williams. Yes, I believe he is. He was not talking to the umpires. He was getting all over Jimmy Williams for trying to distract all can Boyd, which almost worked until the double play ground out. That was McNamara really showing his displeasure with Jimmy Williams. 1 strike, Randy Kutcher. Mark Ross has done a nice job. He's set down 11 Red Sox hitters in a row. He's holding up, waiting for the Jays to throw some more runs on the board. Little off-beat curveball. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Ross joined the club last week in Cleveland. And he has sat around until today. This is his first appearance.
Well, he's scoring a lot of points. You know, when they see his pitching line at the end of this day, if he continues like this, if he won't stay here, and it's doubtful that he will when they start getting all these pitchers off the disabled list, somebody else might pick him up. So sometimes bringing a guy up like this deep to left field isn't deep enough. Wind gets a hold of it just a little bit. It stays within the confines of the fence. Hit well. A little too high. The wind may have kept it in. 12 in a row set down now by Mark Ross.
Shortstop number 7, strike.
When he hit it, it looked like it was gone.
Yeah, when you figure, talked about Key, Musselman, Nunez, somebody's going to have to go. Davis throwing the ball better, the left-hander at Syracuse. Don't know if he's ready to come up after some arm problems the last few years. Alex Sanchez, a double-A ball, blowing the league away. A right-hander. Great fastball and great composure. I'm not saying he'll be up this year, but he could move up to Syracuse before too long.
I think by Wednesday, the Blue Jays are definitely going to make a deal. And it'll be a pitcher.
He's out of the batter's box, and he's gone. He tried to drag the ball on and got hit by the ball in fair territory. Good call by the home plate umpire, Chuck Merriweather. 13 in a row set down by Mark Ross. He's holding him for the Jays to strike in the 6th with Mosley, Mullix, and Val. 7-2, you're watching the bats. Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Lloyd Mosby against Earl Canboy to see if he has regained his composure after 2 consecutive walks and then a double play ball to Tony Fernandez. A ball and a strike to Lloyd. Single, 2 runs home, and also is grounded out. He may beat this on Boyd off the mound like a cat. Boy, he's a good athlete. Good fielding.
He made a fine play.
Lloyd is going to argue that he thought
Pulled his foot.
Evans was off the bag. He's not going to argue. He's going to plead. He's going to get down on his knees. It's not going to work. And Taggio's going to let the call stand. It looked like a good bunt, but Boyd was off the mound.
That's something he should do more of. I don't think he does enough of it.
The designated hitter.
Notice how Boyd gets out, fields it.
Oh, man, that was close.
Yeah, he thought he beat that out. Never mind pulling the foot.
You know, Lloyd still doesn't have the technique. He stands there almost as if it's a sacrifice and doesn't get a good jump out of the box. See again that it is bang, bang, and I think that the ball was in the glove and the foot was still off the bag.
Isn't it amazing? You get 2 different angles on that, and it's a little different from each angle.
So Voltaggio's 1 for 1. May have missed Lirianos. Looks like he got that right. I guess that's why umpires get mad at us, huh? When we say stuff like that.
I'll tell you what. I had a long conversation with Marty Springstad about that the other night. And I was telling him about the play that we had one night. It was in Boston. 2 different angles. You had 2 different verdicts on the play.
Mullix, a little chopper. Owens can't handle it. So Lance on a 1-1 pitch to get his second base into the ball game. So with 1 out in the 6th, the Jays trailing by 5. Mullix is out for George Bell.
A little chopper up the middle. That Owen, you can see he gets his glove on it. Had he caught that ball, I think he'd have thrown him out.
There, perhaps a little closer to the ball, but he had a bad angle to make the throw. George Bell is grounded out to 3rd and hit into a double play. A strike.
I know sitting through the game yesterday, I mentioned this earlier, I don't think he hit the ball out of the infield. He hasn't done that today.
Hitting a lot on the end of the bat.
Yeah.
Even pitches
so
at times, even pitches inside at times that he pulls off of with the front shoulder. Fastballs in that you think would jam him, he hits on the end of the bat. He got full conscious last year, big home run year, the MVP year, and they've changed their pitching pattern, gone away and pulled the string more on them. 1-1 with one down. 1 ball, 2 strikes to George. Six hits, 2 errors, both in the outfield for the Jays. The Red Sox, 7 runs, 5 hits. Breaking ball, right side, high in the air. Marty Barrett. Sure as heck scared Mullins back with a fake throw. 2 outs.
Now listen to the boo bell.
That's why it's nice to have a nickname like Moose or Goose.
The first baseman, number 19.
You can always say they're cheering for me. But George is a different story. Freddie McGriff over 2 in the ballgame, a strikeout and a ground out. Don't know why with Mullins there and left-handed hitter like this, and Evans is holding them out with a 5-run lead. That was silly. Should be up the middle for a base hit. Jays with 2 outs and runners on first and second for Kelly Gruber.
Mullins at second, McGriff at first, and the batter will be Gruber, as Tony said. And if you see this play here, you see this pitch by Orca. It looked like it was a little screwball.
Took something off, and as strong as Kelly is, they swing around and pull him to the right side in the infield. They'll play him about straight away in the outfield because he's got great power to left and right center field. In the infield, they play McGriff to pull. Jay's looking for a big one right here, way inside from Boyd.
Well, one swing of the bat by Gruber put this ball club right back in this game.
Gruber with 7 home runs, 40 RBIs. 40 RBI, leads the Jays. Right back at the can. So the Jays strand 2, that's 4 in the ball game. After 6 here at Exhibition Stadium. Boyd settled down after his tirade last inning. Very heatedly, he and McNamara going after Jimmy Williams. 7-2, Red Sox. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
All the damage done in the first inning when the Red Sox put 5 runs on the scoreboard. On 4 base hits, they left a couple of runners on. The big blow, a 3-run homer by Mike Greenwell. They got 2 more in the second inning. And then Mark Ross, a right-hander, has retired 13 in a row. Marty Barrett, a 6-year veteran, gets that one down into the left field corner. That'll go for an extra base. Bell solders over, picks it up, gets it back in, and Barrett has his 16th double of the season.
I mean, George can't do anything without a smattering of booze. He goes to the corner and a sure double, and they expect even on that, when they get down on you, capricious nature of fans, to hold him to a single. That's something that Barrett learned to do. When he first came up, he was almost strictly going to right field, right side. Moved off the plate, closed his stance. Learned when they came inside that he could get at that ball.
That's just the second hit that Ross has given up. Ellis Burks, an RBI single back in the second inning. Wade Boggs. He's 0 for 2 with a walk and has scored a run. Takes a strike in the outside corner from home plate umpire Chuck Merriweather. Boggs looked back at Merriweather, thinking that pitch was a little outside. Mark Eichhorn is now throwing in the Blue Jay bullpen. Boggs lines it to right field. That'll go up against the wall. Camposano back, as Barrett will come around to score, and Wade Boggs has a double. Boggs, his 15th double of the season, and his 17th run batted in. It is 8-2, Boston leading.
first baseman, number 24.
We hope you're enjoying today's telecast. Our producer, Tom McKee, director, Michael Lansbury, John Pickett, our statistician.
Little change-up, and it was a good spot. Boggs trying to pull the ball with the man on second, nobody out. They were in right center field for him, and scores a run.
The Labatt's player of the game for Toronto will receive the 14-watt AM/FM 3D Super Woofer with auto reverse, double cassette, and high-speed dubbing. Just one of a full line of 3D radios from Hitachi. Eichhorn throwing down there in that Blue Jay bullpen. Dwight Evans. Eight to 2, Boston leading, 7th inning. Just 7 hits for the Red Sox and 7 for the Jays. That pitch is inside. 2 balls, no strikes. Evans, an RBI single in the first inning, walked in the second and grounded out in the fourth. Ross has given up back-to-back doubles here in the 7th.
A pitcher like Ross, a veteran team like Boston, the first or second time, because they take a lot of pitches. It's a veteran team that guesses location and guesses specific pitch. So first couple times you see a Ross, you handle him fairly well. Now they're sitting on certain pitches. They know the action of his fastball, what selection he might throw. He's an overpowering kind of guy. He's got to spot the ball perfectly.
He's been inside in every pitch to Evans, hasn't he? Right on that inside corner.
He would probably be a better pitcher against a free-swinging ball club, rather than a team that takes a lot of pitches. He's very disciplined, and they look in certain areas. He's got to nibble a little bit. His stuff isn't good enough to overpower people.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. Broken bat, hit down to Fernandez, and he'll fire across to get Evans. 1 down. That'll bring up the DH, Mike Greenwell, with the 3-1 home.
Mike Greenwell.
It's just one of those long, lazy afternoons.
Well, you get hit by a 5 spot as the Blue Jays did in the first inning. It's a long way to come back. The Jays so far this season not being able to come back from big deficits. The record when they start off, they're going to intentionally walk Greenwell to get to Burks and then possibly Kevin Romine.
The 2 runs that the Red Sox scored in the second inning, both unearned. An error to center fielder Lloyd Mosby, and Bell had made an error back in the first inning when he dropped a routine fly ball off the bat of Kevin Romine.
2 managers, a term that is used beleaguered, to say the least. And sometimes I think managers, with what's happened this year and in the past, must feel like they're a fire hydrant.
Looks like he's going to go to the bullpen to Eichhorn, and he is. So that'll be it for Mark Ross, who really has done a pretty nice job.
Jays, we talked about them having difficulty coming back this year with the opponents start first and 9 wins, 22 left. Mark Ross did a nice job. I'd say he earned some more pitching in the big leagues off this performance. Not here somewhere else. And boy, the guys on the bench sure appreciate a fellow like Ross who banged around.
The Baltimore Orioles will be here in Toronto for Blue Jay fans, their first look at the season begins June the 20th at 7:35 for a 4-game series. So make sure you get your tickets for that one.
You know, I would think Mark Eichhorn coming out of relief Ross is a little bit of a man on the spot. He hasn't been consistent. It was a great year 2 years ago, and he came down to earth a little bit last year. But again, you know, what trade value he has now, if he's even involved in trade talk, I don't know. But it's diminished, what he's done so far this year.
Well, he had what might be termed as his worst outing of the year the other night in Cleveland. Remember those 3 balks? 2 with the bases loaded.
Did he hit a batter in that game, too?
Yeah, he sure did.
Forced in a run.
We'll be right right back in just a moment.
Blue Jays pitching staff is striking out more than the opposing batters this year. They're all working together to help strike out Crohn's disease and colitis. You can help, too. Please contact your local CFIC office.
Was that Don Chevrier hiding over our shoulder?
The center fielder.
No, but I'm proud to be sitting next to you, the chairman.
Alveolitis colitis helped strike out.
How's it coming, incidentally? You're starting to make some dough.
Oh, I'd
charity.
say probably right now they're well over $100,000, and hopefully by the time the season rolls around and finishes, they'll have anywhere from $350,000 to $500 million raised.
Well, congratulations to you.
Well, there's a lot of people that have worked hard. Ellis Burks, who has a couple of hits, an RBI, and he grounded out in the 5th inning. An 8-2 ball game here in the 7th inning. Boston leading the Blue Jays. Wade Boggs at second, Greenwell at first. Ground ball, Fernandez, Deliriano, and he's safe at first.
You can just see how Tony waited back for the ball. He may have waited back because Boggs was in his path. Very slow, leisurely toss to Liriano, and it allowed Burks, who has outstanding speed. This is a double play, and a ball hit this sharp, and it's got to be turned. Tony doesn't charge the ball. Boggs gets in his way. Look, he's standing in kind of a slow sinker ball delivery. Liriano did all he could. Tony was a little slow on the start of it. So they give him the extra out.
That'll bring up Kevin Romine, who struck out twice in this ball game. Boggs at third, Burks at first, 2 down. 1 run already in. Well over 40,000 here this afternoon to watch this game.
I don't think now, with a man on third base, it isn't in Eichhorn's mind about the ball calls in Cleveland. And of course, that may have messed up his delivery, but he's one of these guys who likes to kind of come to a change of direction in the past, a little more momentum gathered toward home plate. It's upset his rhythm and timing with these ball calls this year.
Well, it's been a struggle all year for Eichhorn, hasn't it? Doesn't have a win yet. He's lost 3. He does have a save, and this is his 23rd appearance. He's had trouble throwing strikes, falling behind on hitters. He's got 46 appearances without a victory.
He was going, folks. Burks was on the move.
Remember, it all happened with Eichhorn last year. They started stealing him blind. And, he moved around his delivery, tried to speed it up somewhat. That might have hurt.
Well, they would have the first year here, except he didn't allow very many base runners. He was striking out more than inning pitched. Very few hits to innings pitched. Strikeout to walks ratio was great, so there weren't that many base runners against him to take advantage of his move. Of course, that's the kind of delivery that is slow. Jacoby has it.
That'll even it up at a ball and a strike to Romine. Cleveland Indians in for a 3-game series. That begins tomorrow night.
Rich Yett against Jim Clancy, then Tom Candiotti against Todd Stottlemyre. And Wednesday, Greg Swindell, who's got 10 wins, against Dave Stieb, who will be looking for his 9th.
Now that's an afternoon game. Starts at 12:35. They tell me it is completely sold out. But I'm sure you get a ticket. If you really wanted one bad enough.
What do we call you, or what do we do here?
Don't call me.
Well, how can it be sold out, but you can still get a ticket?
Well, I would come down to the stadium and try to sneak in.
I call Fergie.
2 balls and a strike.
Looked like Eichhorn's fork ball. a little 5 o'clock shadow, isn't he? Trying something different. That pitch was so good that he couldn't pull the trigger. He couldn't believe it was right down the middle like it was.
Burke's back at first.
The 8th inning, the Mets beating Montreal 2-0. They're starting to lose a little bit, giving some hope. They've lost 4 in a row. Pittsburgh 1 game back. The Cardinals.
There goes Burks.
Pittsburgh 4.5 back. Excuse me. St. Louis 6.5. But the Mets not as invincible as people thought.
Witt had no chance, as you can see, to throw way outside. So for Ellis Burks, that is his 10th stolen base this season.
Tough pitch to throw on. Burks had a great jump. So the force is removed. Burks at second instead of first.
And it's a full count to Romine. Boy, a pretty quiet crowd today. Gets him. So the Boston Red Sox score another run here in the 7th and take an 8-2 lead. You're watching the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
They lead us in a series of exercises during the
Dennis Oil Can Boyd has given up 7 hits, and only 2 of those 7 hits have been for extra bases. A double to Tony Fernandez in the 3rd, and a double to Ernie Witt in the 5th inning. And it'll be Witt here in the 7th who will lead it off for the Toronto Blue Jays.
leading off the 7th.
They're down by 6.
Catcher, number 12, Ernie.
Ernie 1 for 2 today with that double. That's just his 5th extra base hit this season.
He's not the only Blue Jay, veteran Blue Jay who's struggling in the extra base hit department, especially lately. Jesse, although he's had bad wrist.
Pops that one up. Gedman might have a play on it. Boyd comes over, and now the first baseman, Evans, will take it.
You're looking at 2 teams that have struggled in the extra base hit department. The Red Sox, for one, their run production is down. The Blue Jays, Barfield, 9 extra base hits, 175 at bats. George is tapered off in that battle in that department.
The right fielder, number 6, Sil.
Mosby's making a little bit of a run. He's got 16 extra base hits. You go on and on through the lineup, and the kids really are the ones who produce more than anybody else.
Jays have had 2 decent winning streaks, a 5-gamer and a 6-gamer this year, but they just can't seem to put anything together. They'll win 1, lose 2, or win a couple, lose the next 3. They're 5-4-1 in series here at home. That includes this one, winning 2 out of, let's put it 2 out of 3, if that's the way this game finishes here today, with Boston winning.
That's a funny pitch there. After he threw that last pitch, Campusano had that big swing. Boyd just glared down from the mound and stood there almost defiantly. And that last pitch was a breaking ball, but he came awfully close to Campusano over his head.
Pops it up.
Swing.
Center fielder Burks will come in and make the play. 2 down.
Since that new rule's been put in, I'm not saying Boyd was throwing at Campusano, but he did glare at him after that big swing where he fell into the strike zone. More and more pitchers are throwing breaking balls at hitters, hard sliders, and when the umpires, you can fool an umpire. They expect the fastball to be thrown at a guy. That's what David Cohn hit Guerrero with. 2 fastballs inside. Breaking ball hit him on the shoulder, then off the helmet. He threw the bat.
You know, the last couple of weeks, Liriano has been swinging a bat much better. 11 hits in his last 20 at bats. He's working that average up to 234 now. If you look back at last year, he finished at 241 in the 37 games that he played. So, you know, if they could get Liriano to hit around 250, 260, that might be a bit of a bonus.
Well, you need the speed.
You need
it's obvious
the speed.
The team needs more speed, especially on this turf.
And good defense.
And that's
really
what they'd like to cut down with him, that big swing. Zito's trying to get him in a groove. He gets him in a groove in batting practice, but then you get on the playing field during the game, the adrenaline starts pumping, and he overswings. He's got him choking up, shortening his swing. It takes time. These are really babies, he and Campusano.
The left fielder. Kutcher over there, but that ball's up into the stands. Well, that boy does put on quite a show, doesn't he? Especially when he's leading by 6.
He has fun. He says, that's the way I was taught to play by my father. My 2 brothers who played professionally, go out there and have a good time. Except when he first came up, a lot of the opposition felt he was showing them up with some of the things he did.
A ball and 2 strikes to Liriano. I can't believe how quiet it is in this stadium. There's no other stadium in baseball like this one. There's Jim Rice.
Sitting it out, even though Cerutti started, he hit Cerutti well. A couple of home runs, is hitting 600 off him. Jimmy still kept out of the lineup by John McNamara.
There's 40,000 plus here. You can drop a pin, I think, and hear it. But it's like this quite often when the Blue Jays are losing. I think it's the quietest stadium in all of baseball. Maybe a more sophisticated crowd.
Well, open air like this also. I know we did the League Championship Series here. The sound, there was a lot of sound, was going to nowhere.
That could be a little base hit out into left. Oh, Kutcher comes in and makes a nice play. So 3 up, 3 down for the oil can as the Red Sox lead it 8-2 through 7 at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. An 8-2 ball game. The Boston Red Sox leading. The Red Sox scoring 5 in the first inning to put this game out of touch for the Blue Jays.
You can't give up that early.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a struggle for these Blue Jays this afternoon. They came up with a couple of runs in the 3rd inning, but they've not been playing well today.
Well, in the 5th, they had the can on the ropes. 1 out, bases loaded, ground ball, double play, and that took whatever life at that stage they had in them out of them in a hurry. Some of the people heading for the exits.
Back in the 3rd inning, the Blue Jays with 3 hits. With 2 out, Liriano singled, and then Fernandez doubled, and then Mosby had an RBI, or a couple of RBIs, single. And that's all the scoring for Toronto. Gedman. This is just the 19th game that he's been in this season. He loops one out into left field. Bell comes in. He makes the play.
Gedman's going to have to try something different. He's been in a terrific slump. Heard earlier. Clubhouse early this morning. He looked at Ian Duff's donuts there. He said, what can I do different? He said, I've been eating these donuts, and they're just like horse collars. So he broke one into pieces and he formed a 3. He said, that's good for 3 base hits. Well, he's got a 0 for 4. Matt Dobson's going to hit now. Up from Pawtucket. Well, they made a lot of roster changes last weekend, brought up 4 different people, disabled some people.
40,123 fans, the official attendance announced by Howie Starkman today. Gruber over on the line. He'll have a play on this. That'll bring up Spike Owen, the shortstop.
The shortstop, number 7, Spike Owen.
With 2 down in the 8th inning, Boston leads by 6. Roger Clemens tomorrow night against Rich Dotson. As the Yankees and the Red Sox go at it at Fenway, Mike Smithson and Neil Allen on Tuesday night, and Bruce Hurst, Al Leiter for 2 on Wednesday.
You think the reaction in this town is bad for the play of the Blue Jays at times. They've won 7 of their last 10. At times they haven't looked good doing it. It'll be in Boston. Wow, the talk shows there. Blister your ears. It's a tough media town.
Well, when we were there and Blue Jays swept that 4-game series, every newspaper talking about McNamara's job. Ground ball. Liriano backhands it, almost collides with Fernandez, but no play. So it'll be a base hit for Spike Owen.
This is a play that Mark Eichhorn could help himself.
The second baseman,
Usually a pretty good fielder, but when he jumps to that third base sign off the mound, he couldn't really right himself and get in front of the ball.
That'll bring up Marty Barrett, who's 2 for 4, a single and a double, and has scored a couple of runs.
Eichhorn was a shortstop before he became the pitcher, so usually he fields his position well.
The way he bounces off that mound, though, it's pretty difficult. Average 3 points. The Yankees leading Baltimore 5-2. Tommy John on the mound for New York. Detroit, Cleveland. That one, Detroit leads 5-4. As Cleveland scored 2 in the bottom of the 7th. They get back into that one. That's Tanana against Scott Bales. Remember him? He had a no-hitter going through 6 innings.
Zach Crouch, the left-hander, called up last weekend, and John Trotline, they drafted him off the Montreal.
And into right field, Capisano charging in, makes the play.
Boy, did he get a great jump on that ball. That ball left the bat, and we looked up from up here, and he'd already taken about 3 steps. What reaction. Boy, it's a nice play. He is so quick and a great thrower.
So it's 8-2. 8th inning. You're watching the bats. Blue Jays baseball on CTV. The first pitch to shortstop Tony Fernandez. Ball into the dirt. That's Pat Dotson at first base. And some changes have been made as Fernandez lines that one into right field. Evans is out there now playing right field, and Kevin Romine has moved from right over to left field as the Red Sox make a few defensive changes.
Bob Stanley, along with Zach Crouch. As Crouch sat down, that might be Bolton now. He's called up. They've got 11 pitchers. Here's what the defense looked like with the changes. Romine from right to left. Fergie, told you that. Evans to right field. Boyd, before his surgery, was a pretty good closer. He was in double figure in complete games 3 consecutive years until last year.
Mosby, the hitter, he's 1 for 3, a couple of RBIs. Fernandez down at first. Jays trail by 6. Bottom of the 8th inning here at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. 40,123 fans. Two balls, no strikes to Mosby. Catches the corner.
Fergie, when we saw Boyd down in spring training, saw that his arm was well, I think most people felt that this would be a legitimate contending team. Same as the Blue Jays. I mean, many experts were picking the Jays and the Yankees if they stayed healthy. Then when they saw Boyd throw, we had Clemens going for his 3rd consecutive Cy Young Award, and Hurst, and they got Lee Smith. They figured the offense and the pitching would be okay. That turned out to this point, hasn't it?
Well, that's something they've lacked for some time. A good closer in their bullpen in Boston. And Lee Smith was thought to be the man.
It's a trade that Jimmy Fry, the general manager, got criticized for with the Cubs, and all of a sudden Nipper is disabled now. Gave him a lot of good ball games. Schiraldi,
pitched very well.
He was disabled, pitched very well. Now he's back. Lee Smith has struggled with that fastball. He doesn't have the velocity consistently with a little back and knee problem.
2-2 pitch is low. When Mosby gets on, you'll probably see a trip to the mound from manager John McNamara or pitching coach Bill Fisher. He's caught looking.
What's that, his 2nd strikeout?
Just his 2nd strikeout.
The designated hitter, number 5.
He got the ball right near the inner edge, and Chuck Merriweather felt it had enough in the corner. Now Owen with a little pep talk for Boyd. Also to find out what they're going to do with Mullix. Maybe he should alter his little slider that had a lot of the plate. Lloyd just froze.
Mullenix 2 for 3 today. Fernandez at first, 1 down. High chopper in the infield. It's played by Marty Barrett, and they get Mullenix, who's a slow runner at first.
Quite a good athlete. He made that good play down the third baseline on Mosby, and now Dotson, who's not known. Well, he's not a bad defensive player. He was going after the ball, so Boyd had to hurry to get over, and he did. Just an instinctive reaction. The play's worked on so much that Boyd is over in plenty of time.
6'1", 160 pounds.
60 pound, 160 might be an exaggeration.
Bell hits a high fly ball, center field. Burks back close to the warning track and makes the catch for the putout. So Oil Can gives up a leadoff single to Fernandez and then sets down Mosby, Mullenix, and Bell. We're heading to the 9th inning. Boston lead by 6. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. 9th inning here at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. Boston leading the Blue Jays 8-2. Mike Greenwell with a 3-run homer in the first inning got the Red Sox on their way this afternoon. Wade Boggs, who's 1 for 3 with a double. He walked and scored a run back in that first inning. Will face Mark Eichhorn. Takes the ball low and outside. Blue Jays in their last 25 games are 13-12.
You know, Fergie, you usually stack walks, hits, and an error together in one inning. You're going to come up with runs, and that's just what the Blue Jays allowed to happen to themselves those first couple of innings, and they were all but out of it. Walk in each inning, an error in each inning, some hits put together.
John Cerutti lasted only a third of an inning, and this is 8th start of the season. Gave up a single to Barrett, a walk to Boggs, RBI single to Evans. As Boggs hits that to right field, Campusano will wait for it, make the catch for the putout. Then Ellis Burks, or Mike Greenwell, then hit a 3-run homer. Burks singled. George Bell dropped a fly ball in left field.
The right fielder,
And allowed another run to score. So an error, 4 hits in that first inning didn't help matters.
Against the team that has perhaps struggled a lot more than the Blue Jays over the last month. They've had trouble generating an offense most of this season.
Evans had a base hit in the first inning. 1 for 3, walked and scored a run. In fact, he scored a couple of runs in this game.
You know, it's almost sad to see the way these two teams have played more often than not during the season. Teams with the kinds of ability that they have. A team like Cleveland or Detroit or Milwaukee, I don't think those three have as much ability as these two teams on the field today. And yes, there have been some injuries involved and some rookies. Try and find that missing ingredient to get consistency. Neither team's been able to find it.
Well, Jeff Busselman, the left-hander who's in Syracuse, will be probably called up, or he's eligible to be called up on Wednesday. So the pitching change will have to be made. Ground ball to Fernandez. He'll fire it across, 2 down.
Jeff, in his third outing at Syracuse on Thursday, pitched 4 innings through 60 pitches, gave up 4 hits, 3 runs, all were unearned. 1 base on balls, 3 strikeouts, consistently throwing between 87, 88, some pitches in the 90s. Jimmy Key on Friday at Dunedin, 47 pitches, a couple of innings pitched. In fact, he had 2 easy innings, 10 pitches in the first 2, wanted to go longer. Doug Galt sent a report in, said he had a good change.
He knew he had to go down to get some work, but he really didn't even want to go because I can remember watching him in Texas. His arm, he said, just feels great. He says, I can't throw any better than that. He said the same thing in Cleveland.
It's different throwing against hitters, and you've got to have that warm weather and the supervised rehabilitation program after surgery. And, you know, when he gets to 90 to 100 pitches and looks like he's got the breaking stuff going and good zip on his fastball consistently. Then you start talking about bringing him up. But he's coming along very quickly. But you can't take a chance, you know, out of desperation, say, well, if we get him back in a hurry, we can get back in this thing. Well, you're toying with the guy's future in his arm, and he had some shoulder tiredness last year at the end.
Jimmy's only had 3 starts. We're talking about Jimmy Key, of course. And I guess by the time he gets back here, as Greenwell pops that one up, Gruber will make the play for the 3rd out. That Jimmy Key, if he stays healthy, might get a total of 20 starts this season. We're heading to the bottom of the 9th inning here at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. Bob Stanley is coming on, and the Jays trail by 6. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. As Freddie McGriff
Third baseman, number 17,
ground ball
Kelly
to shortstop, so he's out of there. And that'll bring up Kelly Gruber with 1 down in the 9th inning. Gruber in this ball game is looking to keep alive his 11-game hitting streak. A bouncer to Owen, the shortstop. 2 down.
I'm not sure that's the way you play baseball. Down by 6, Stanley comes on. 2 pitches, 2 outs.
The catcher, number 12, Fergie Wicks.
Stanley missed the good part of the season with some surgery. Cut his hand up badly, his pitching hand, when he tripped carrying the garbage out. If you hadn't heard the story, but he said he's come up with a new pitch. Now he's got a numb ball. Got some nerve damage.
Strike to Ernie Witt. All you Blue Jay fans who want to see a game tomorrow night, it'll be Rich Yett for Cleveland against Jim Clancy. Yett is 5-3, Clancy 3-7. As the Cleveland Indians open up a 3-game series against the Blue Jays.
Yett pitched that game in Cleveland where Cleveland swept the Blue Jays and had control problem. The Blue Jays couldn't get a base hit to get him out of the ball game to get to the bullpen. It's only Stanley's 10th appearance of the year, all in relief. Got that good sinker, slider, and a palm ball.
Ground ball, Spike Owen.
Tied a record. 3 assists.
Well, that's it. This game is over. The Boston Red Sox beating the Blue Jays 8-2. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. In a game that took 2 hours and 40 minutes to play, I think it was over with, for all intents and purposes, after about 20 minutes, as the Boston Red Sox scored 5 runs in that first inning.
Well, what is that old nursery rhyme about the little girl with the curl in the middle of her forehead? When she was good, she was very good. When she was bad, she was horrid. That seems to be the way the Blue Jays have gone this year. And today, they had a bad couple of first innings, played sluggishly. And, you know, unless they get their pitching staff straightened out, now Steve's been really almost brilliant every time out. When you look at some of the ERAs of the other starters, and Cerutti's been pretty good at times. Today he got banged around, didn't a lot of help from his defense at times, but still he gave up a 3-run home run. And Flanagan and Clancy, they haven't been on the beam. They've been off the beam more than on it all season long. And if you don't have starting pitching that's consistent, you're going to be troublesome, and you're going to have games like this, and they better straighten it out.
Well, I think they're going to do something about that the next couple of days. We know that Musselman's coming back. We know that manager Jimmy Williams and Pat Gillick and all the coaching staff had meetings for a couple of hours this morning. They were all here early. So who knows what's going on behind that green door of Pat Gillick's?
Well, I think there's going to be both. I think there's going to be some moves trade-wise. We don't know with whom, and I think some moves within the organization as soon as these pitchers get healthy. And you're going to try and change the chemistry of this team and hopefully go off on a hopeful note the rest of this season.
Okay, well, we hope you've enjoyed today's telecast. Don Chevrier will be back with you again next Sunday. The final score here today, the Boston Red Sox beating the Blue Jays 8-2. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Labatt's Blue Jays baseball has been brought to you by Esso. Fill up with Esso No Trouble gasoline that cleans as you drive. And by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada. And proud sponsor of Canada's Olympic team in Seoul, Korea. This has been a special presentation of CTV Sports, produced in association with TV Labatt by authority of the Toronto Blue Jays Baseball Club and may not be rebroadcast in any form without the express written consent of the Blue Jays. The final score, the Boston Red Sox beating Toronto 8-2. The winning pitcher, Dennis Oil Can Boyd at 6-5. John Cerutti, the loser at 3-3. The Labatt's players of the game for Toronto, Rance Mullenix. He'll receive the Hitachi 3D Super Woofer. And for Boston, Oil Can Boyd. He'll receive the new Canon Sure Shot Multi-Telly. As well, an amateur baseball team will be the guest of Mullenix and Hitachi at an upcoming game. And our next CTV telecast, Saturday, June the 18th, when most of the CTV stations will bring you the Blue Jays and the Tigers from Detroit. And then on Sunday, the 19th, the full CTV network will carry Game 4 of the series between Toronto and Detroit. Check your local listings.
Anne Margaret and Bruce Dern star in the story about a successful Texas developer whose beautiful wife and competitive job force him to act a little weird and go a little bit nuts. It's Middle Age Crazy, and it's tonight's movie presentation at 11:30 here on NTV.